Okay. So can everyone see my screen?
No.
No.
Oh, that's right. I stopped my share. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm technically challenged this morning. Now can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good. So our speaker this morning, as I mentioned, is Randy Lanou. Randy is an architect and licensed North Carolina building contractor. He is LEED accredited. That stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It means that he, at least for part of his work, specializes in energy conservation friendly buildings. In 1999, he founded a company called BuildSense. It's a company that creates high-performance homes. The company's projects have been featured in local and national press, including the Raleigh News and Observer locally, Home of the Month, Architectural Record, Fine Home Building, and HGTV's Beyond the Box. So he's pretty well known. He's also an adjunct associate professor at North Carolina State University College of Design, where he's taught architectural design studios and seminars since 1998. He founded and continues to lead the Design Plus Build Studio at NC State University, where each summer student teams led by experienced faculty design and build a project for community clients. Randy's been a member of the South Granville Rotary Club since 2005, and he served twice as the club president. The members of the club have been traveling to Nicaragua each year for several years, working on multiple school renovation projects. And he will speak to us today about that work. So please join me in welcoming Randy. And I will stop my share so that Randy, you can share your screen if you want to do that.
Thank you, David. And I'm glad I'm actually here because it looks like that picture came off an FBI poster. So
that's a picture off your club's website.
Yeah, I need to change that definitely. So let me see if I can share a screen here and get this thing going. Do you all see an image up there now?
Yes.
Well, fantastic. David, should I just go ahead?
Just go ahead, Randy.
All right. Lori's on the call, and this is just us being a little bit silly, but an opportunity to sort of introduce ourselves and share a little bit more about our service projects in Nicaragua. As David pointed out, we've been doing this for a lot of years. And I think maybe the most important thing that we've figured out is that we weren't very good at this when we started, and each year we've read a little bit more, learned a little bit more, gotten feedback, and I think over time our service work has gotten better. And one of the reasons that it's gotten better is because of an idea that centers around a story that Gloria Steinem actually tells. And she tells the story much better than I do, but I'm still going to give it a shot. And the moral of the story, if I jump right to the end, is to ask the turtle. But Gloria Steinem recounted this time when she was in grad school and she was on a field trip, and they were studying turtles. And there was this turtle that had struggled up the beach and across the road and up a hill on the other side of the road. And she really thought that that turtle needed to be back down by the water. So she picked it up and she carried the thing back down the hill, across the road and across the beach and back to the water. And her professor saw her putting the turtle by the water and said, "Good Lord, what have you done? Do you know how many days that turtle was struggling up that hill so it could lay its eggs for the next season?" And she was, of course, appalled that she had sort of destroyed that progress. But So this has become a theme for us, which is ask the turtle. What does the turtle want rather than what you think the turtle wants? And so when we ask the communities what they want, one of the things that they said they wanted is safe electrical systems in their schools. And many rural villages in Nicaragua have had recent electrification, and the public systems are actually quite good, but as soon as the power leaves the pole, they're generally horrific. And what did the community want? Another thing that the community said they wanted is fresh drinking water for their homes and schools. And these are two examples of systems. Slide on the left is a well that in Pantanal that our club had drilled as part of a medical clinic project. And the slide on the right is in the mountains of Nicaragua, and it's a spring-fed system for a community of about 15 or 16 houses. What does the community want? Community wanted expanded and renovated schools. This is an example in a town called Ilapa Uno, where we renovated the school, expanded the school, and provided a safe electrical system along with a water system. What did the community want? The community wanted a way that the families could feed their kids while they're at school. So often part of our projects has been a kitchen at the schools so the folks can cook and feed the kids at lunchtime. What does the community want? They want septic systems or waste treatment systems and bathrooms at their schools and toilets. This is slide on the left is digging a pit for a septic tank, and the slide on the right is our toilet stalls and hand washing sink. This is in a town called Semulali. And this is a sort of an extra layer that has come on in the last couple of years of the projects that we've been running. And so it answers the question, what does the community want? The community wants vocational and technical training, so the community members have a skill that they can work at and support their families. So this project is also same as the last slide. It's in Semulali. The building behind is a building that we built. It's a computer center. We wired that computer center. We wired and renovated a good portion of the rest of the school. But while we're at it, we worked together with 13 students, 4 of whom you see on the right, I wouldn't describe this as vocational training. I would describe it as a start. So this was like to sort of cast the spark, so to speak, to provide tools, and to it was the beginning of a technical education, which our club then funded. So if any of the students that participated in the renovation of their community school and they wanted to go on to get an electrical education, they had a basic set of tools to start, and they had funding from our club to participate in that program. And not 100% of them did, but many of them did. We are, I think we have some values aligned with your club. We're very hands-on, and we're very interested in active participation in our projects, less of just a check writing club. And I'm not casting aspersions, I'm just sort of describing the attitude of our club members. And I definitely need to clarify that was men working, but it's actually mujeres y hombres trabajando. we are a majority female club, and part of our training has been introducing women to non-traditional roles. In the lower center picture, that's Branka Panic, who is a Rotary Peace Fellow from Serbia, who had participated on this trip with us, teaching 2 women from Nicaragua wiring basics. Will you all tell me if you can see my cursor?
Yes.
Thank you. Nicaragua is a really quite a beautiful country. It spans from the Pacific to the Caribbean. There's Lake Cocibolca, which is an enormous lake. There's 2 islands called Ometepe and Lake Cocibolca. One active, one inactive volcano. The first image you saw us, we were on the ferry actually, riding out to Ometepe. Managua is the capital and also where there's an international airport and fly in. The first 8 or 10 years of projects that we did in Nicaragua were mostly around Granada, which is a really beautiful sort of Spanish colonial town on the lake. And then the second several years of projects, we moved more up into the mountains, the sort of cooler coffee growing region around Matagalpa and San Ramon. It is, and you're seeing Nicaragua is immediately north of Costa Rica. Many of our projects are rural. This is on a morning commute, if you will, from where we were staying to working on one of 3 schools on this project that we rewired and renovated. Nicaragua is just, it's an incredibly beautiful place. For me, it's almost hard to describe. And I'm biased because we've developed a love for the country, but these are wild horses on the shores of Lake Cocibolca. I love coffee, and I had never really even seen a coffee plant or understood how coffee is grown and harvested and roasted. This is in the mountains of Nicaragua at a place called Finca Esperanza Verde. Shade grown coffee, and then this is grade A coffee that has been picked and hand sorted and before it is roasted. Honestly, I didn't even know that coffee beans before they were roasted were white. So this is a community outside of San Ramon where actually for decades now, there's a group of women that have been running a weaving cooperative. And this work and this cooperative has essentially been what has supported and helped their families prosper in this area. They make beautiful craft, and whenever we're nearby, we make an effort to drive up the crazy road to see them and spend a few bucks. About 70% of Nicaragua's power is renewable. Most of that is wind powered, and some of it is solar power. But I think it's quite an achievement for a country with as few resources as Nicaragua has. This may be sort of a funny thing to put up on a presentation about a country, but it never stops amusing me. But renting a truck in Nicaragua is a very unusual experience. This is a diagram from one of those trucks where we painstakingly went around and marked this diagram for every single ding and scratch that was on the truck. And then when we returned the truck, it takes some time because we went back through and corresponded every single ding and scratch to this diagram to make sure that we hadn't added a 57th scratch to the truck when we returned it. transportation in Nicaragua is fairly chaotic, but it all somehow seems to work. But it's always a mix of pedestrians, motorcycles, scooters, bicycles, horse carts, retired school buses, mostly from the US, and cars. One of my favorite images of Nicaragua is seeing folks riding on a horse cart and talking on a cell phone. And what I think happened in Nicaragua is that the landlines were never really well established, or that network never really happened. So the cellular service and the cellular network essentially leapfrogged landlines and is the main form of communication. And this is somewhat bizarre, but when I'm on my cell phone in rural Nicaragua, way in the outback, I generally have better service than I do at my farm in Granville County. It sort of doesn't really seem to match up, but the cellular network works extremely well. Most of Nicaragua is volcanic. There's lots of active volcanoes, and there's a series of more than 360 islands in Lake Cocibolca that were formed by volcanic activity. And it's sort of a unique place. You can ride a boat through here, and it's essentially a neighborhood of houses on tiny islands that is a pretty unique place, unique experience. Markets are amazing. The slide on the left is a town called Sebaco, which is known for their produce, and the produce is absolutely spectacular. The kids are also amazing. We've had a opportunity, as we worked on many schools, to work with some of the families and the kids. One of the things that always catches my attention is the kids are always uniformed, they're always immaculate, and they're often leaving houses without running water, electricity, or in some cases even a solid floor. So I don't know how the families pull this off, or why the kids are so engaging, but they've been really the high point of our trips. Another sort of quirky thing about Nicaragua is the money changers. They're called coyotes. They're licensed folks that that you work with on the sidewalk. The rates for changing money with the coyotes are much better than in the banks. But the first and second and maybe third time that I did this, I always found it a little bit awkward to be changing money on the street that might be a cash that's more than the typical annual salary in the country. I think that there's a whole network of security that I don't see that's going on around here, where I'm fairly sure that the licensed guys have spotters and security that you don't see. But this is just another sort of quirky part of being in Nicaragua. Particularly in Leon and Granada, there's just incredible Spanish colonial architecture. And I'm going to try and describe this is a little bit about attitude, but this is the Masaya volcano, which is sort of unique. It's the only time in my life I've ever had the experience where you can actually walk up to the edge of a volcano, look down, and see flowing lava at the bottom. But we've revisited this volcano many times just because it's stunning sort of natural beauty. But a couple weeks after we were there one year, the volcano erupted, not flowing lava, but just spitting out a bunch of rocks. And so the following visit, the way that was addressed safety-wise was they just encourage you to park to back in, presumably, so if the volcano started to erupt, you could hightail it out of there in your car, your tour bus. And I thought, well, oh, I guess that works. But probably the reason why I have immense respect for Nicaraguans and some kind of a kinship with Nicaraguans is that they have the ability to make stuff happen with just sometimes unbelievably limited resources. Slide on the right is a couple that is either moving or had just purchased this piece of furniture, and this is the mechanism to get it home. And the slide on the left is the 3 trucks on a ferry going actually out to Ometepe, and the truck on the right is the rental truck we had. And when I first was getting on the ferry, I thought, well, I don't know that they can get 2 trucks across on this thing. And then I figured out that they're going to get 3 trucks across. And the guy who's directing me, I kept wanting to look to see if I'm about to crash into anything, and he just wanted me to lock on him and follow his directions. But they packed the truck so tightly in there that the only way for me to get out after my mirrors were folded in was to roll down the window and climb out through the window if I didn't want to sit in the truck for the rest of the ferry ride. This is a town where we worked, did a lot of work. This is Pentanal. This was essentially a squatters community after the devastating hurricane in Mitch in 1998. And the community started where they were essentially building a community with bits and pieces of stuff that had floated around or been destroyed during the hurricane. And this is a town where we expanded a school, we built a medical clinic, got to know the community and the families, and I'm really happy to say that these shots were taken many, many years ago, and this community now is fully electrified, roads are in, schools are improving, and all the housing stock is solid masonry. And so we've just seen significant growth in this community over the many, many years where we participated in the community. And for me, that is exciting. I think a lot of Rotarians have a Rotary story. And I'm going to end with my Rotary story and one of the reasons that motivates me to participate in these projects. These photographs are the same place. And the shot on the left is the earlier shot. And Lori and I were down on a trip. Lori was she's a veterinarian, and she was participating in a World Vets program. And I was down there really for 2 reasons. One was to carry your bags, and the other one was to do a little bit of planning for the next project we were going to do, because we had planned to to expand the school and add toilet blocks, classrooms, and so forth. So I was there. I was talking to the staff as best as I could and photographing and measuring the school. And this bin on the left, they would just truck in water and they'd use it to clean the school. And while I was wandering around and measuring, I watched I'm not good at telling ages, but I would guess about a 10-year-old girl come over to this bin of water and take a cup and dip it in and drink it. And I was just sort of frozen in my shoes. The water was just awful. I mean, it was cleaning water for the floors. And flash forward some time, and after we installed the toilet blocks, the waste treatment system, built new classrooms, and brought in fresh water, this is the same bin on the right where the kids actually have fresh running drinking water. And for me, that makes all the difference in the world. That's it, folks. I'm happy to answer any questions if you've got them.
I guess one question I would like to know, how did you get started on this journey?
I love this question. I get to give a couple early Rotarians in our club a little bit of a nod. So early, I don't remember what year it was, but it might have been 03 or 04. Julie Wright, who was a local businesswoman, still a member of our club, and actually the reason that I'm in Rotary, she brought me into Rotary, went with two other members of our club, both who have retired and moved away, but one is Gus Gustafson and the other one is Tim Stahl. And Julie had taught herself Spanish by watching novellas. And this is typical Julie's, just figure out how to do something. So the three of them went to Nicaragua with the idea of looking towards international service, and they met with a series of different Rotary clubs down there to try and find a partner, much like you all have been working on to build relationships in Jamaica. They found and had just quite a kinship with the Granada Rotary Club in Nicaragua, and started running projects. I think they did one project before I joined the club, and then we participated in the second project that was led by another group, and then after that our club picked up the leadership of the projects and ran them for the next many years. So, but it took the initiative and the relationship building that you all are doing right now in Jamaica to get this started.
Any other questions for Randy?
Yeah, just a comment. It's very interesting how some of the things you spoke about, I'm not talking about the project now, talking about the backdrop, the additional stuff that we do behind actual service, right? Is discovering the countries, yeah? And I found several of the things that you talked about are directly relatable to Jamaica. If you talk about the telephone service, for example, I remember as a kid, to get a landline before the advent of cell phones, it would take like 5-7 years after application to get a line. And once the cell phone started, people had two numbers, right? The coffee experience, we grow coffee in Jamaica as well. Very similar. The kids who are dressed in uniforms in Jamaica, all the way up to high school, everybody wears the same uniform, right? If you talk about how kids look so well dressed despite the poverty, we ask ourselves the same questions in Jamaica. As a matter of fact, when you go to countries like Haiti being the poorest, when you see those kids going to school immaculate, you wonder how they do it. But there's a certain kind of pride in poverty that we have in our countries. So, I mean, there are so many parallels that you described that we have in the Caribbean as well. So when you go to Jamaica, if you do go with us, you will feel right at home as if you're in Nicaragua.
I concur with everything Peter said. One of the things that struck me in your presentation was your interest in the culture, which is something we have said up front that we want to do in Jamaica. We want to get to know the people, we want to get to know the culture. So it's not just dropping in and do a project and leave. We want to build relationships where possible throughout the community. I think it sounds like you've done a great job. Anyone else?
Randy, how many years has this been going on?
I was trying to remember that, but I think our first trip to Nicaragua, which was actually with the College of Veterinary Medicine, was in 06. So that would be 17 years.
Wow.
Been doing this, and mostly that we've been it was interrupted by COVID, and then it was interrupted by the government of Nicaragua. But the mostly our habit has been we do a service project every other year, and then we do a planning trip on the years in between. So we're both checking up on prior projects and then planning the next one to and sort of being sure that we've got everything lined up from logistics to tools to funding, the whole 9 yards. So my wife also accurately pointed out to me that as much as I talked about the context of culture or our just sort of our experiences in Nicaragua, we didn't talk about food. And since we're both highly food motivated, as is most of our club, that's also worth mentioning. We, like many places we travel, we could easily go from meal to meal to meal in Nicaragua and be very, very, very happy. So yeah.
We had traveled to Costa Rica, and we had taken a trip from Costa Rica into Nicaragua, where the volcano that you showed us by the edge, that one we had went to see. And you're absolutely right. Even Costa Rica and Nicaragua, they're very similar in their foods, being very close proximity of each other. But the fruits were what we lived on. Papaya and just the fresh fruits that they had was incredible. And to go to a McDonald's there and get rice and beans was like, both Arnold and I were like, oh, this is heaven. This is what McDonald's is supposed to be. Really healthy food, not right.
I'm glad you took the trip. We actually hadn't ever been to Costa Rica until we were struggling to get into Nicaragua on the last trip because the commercial airlines stopped flying into Managua for quite some time. So we actually ended up flying to Liberia and Costa Rica, taking a van to the border, walking across the border, arranging transportation from there up to Matagalpa to do the last service project, and then following that route back down. And we definitely do not want to do that again. It basically eats 2 days to go through that process, and it's a little bit dicey. So yeah.
Who are your local partners, Randy?
In Granada, it was the Granada Rotary Club. In Matagalpa, we did have a connection to the Matagalpa Rotary Club, but our real partner was an organization called Sister Communities of San Ramon, Nicaragua. They were the folks that had been embedded in the community for more than 20 years, who had established relationships and trust and understood community needs. That organization is, while it still exists, they are doing less and less and less work. I don't have to spend a lot of time here, but the government of Nicaragua is pretty rough right now. And autocratic, and one of the things that they're cracking down on is not-for-profits and NGOs.
I have a question.
So,
Can you hear me?
shoot.
So this is my first time being involved in this sort of project. So new to me and listening to what's going on in Nicaragua. And we may be planning on you going there firsthand and try to find out what we can contribute as our group to Jamaica. For someone new like me, how would I be able to contribute if I know nothing about these projects other than listening to all of your stories?
I don't know. David, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to do that?
Why don't you go ahead? I had trouble hearing the last part of the question.
I think that the question is, as a Rotarian, and Yvonne's a little bit newer to our club, how do we how do we each contribute to a project, because we all have varied skill sets. And I think we're trying to answer that question right now about how we partner and in what way, and how we apply our skill sets to the projects to help the community that you've identified in Jamaica. Yvonne, we've had some folks go, I mean, I'm not a licensed electrician, I'm a builder and I have experience here, but we've had essentially Rotarians go that don't have any electrical experience, for example, have learned the basics and then have helped students learn the basics so they can then go on to get a professional education. And it's not necessarily fast, but I think it's a learning process all the way around. My opinion is that folks that are learning a skill and have enough that they can be able to share may make the students who are also at the very beginning of that phase more comfortable than maybe somebody that is a professional, or somebody that has more experience that sort of rapid fires information to folks, and it might be harder for them to pick it up. That wasn't a super articulate answer, but I think everybody has a role in doing the projects, at least following the model that we followed.
I think, Yvonne, not all of the projects we're looking at the school are big, heavy-duty, intensive projects. I will venture to say, if I can teach you to swing a hammer or turn a screwdriver, there are projects at the school where you can contribute in a very meaningful way. For example, when Peter and I were in Jamaica in July, we went back to the school. They've had a new classroom constructed at one end of one of the buildings, and there's an emergency exit. But if you open that exit door, it's 6 to 8 feet above the ground, looking onto an active driveway, a driveway that is used by cars, not frequently, but they're there. They have children at the school in wheelchairs, not many, 2 or 3. So one of the thoughts we had was simple: let's build a wheelchair ramp at that exit. You know, and I have no training, just like Randy said, you know, but you can talk to Marie later. I've built chicken coops from scratch. I've designed them myself. I've dug holes in the ground, sunk posts in concrete. You know, that kind of project, I don't think is difficult for anyone. You know, there's other things we're actually struggling with, how to make some of these projects hands-on. You know, this year, our project is to provide computers and projectors to the school. So the question is, what's hands-on about that? You have a shipper deliver the computers and projectors to the school. They have an IT teacher who will set it all up. What do we do? So we're talking with the principal about maybe doing a painting project, you know, and she's going to give us a list of areas of the school that may need to be painted. We're talking about, can we plant gardens? You know, can we beautify the school somehow? We're still kind of struggling with that. But I think if you want to come to Jamaica, we won't have any trouble finding something that you can do and contribute in a very productive way.
Okay, thank you.
There's a little bit of a short and fun story here about one of our Rotarians who's not on the call. Her name is Karen. She and her husband are retired now, but they're really successful. They ran a sexy Halloween costume and lingerie company for many years. You know, a lingerie company owner on a service project in rural Nicaragua sounds kind of funny, but one of the things, it's hot where we work, and one of the things that she did was took it upon herself to make sure that everybody was hydrated. So there's this relatively high-powered businesswoman who called herself Water Girl and made a point of that everybody, whether you're Nicaraguan or from the US or what have you, was drinking plenty of water and being healthy and okay. It's kind of a funny role, but each one of those things is important. So
I've got time for one more question for Randy. Has anyone got a question?
No, not a question, David, but another comment. A while ago when you spoke about something that we could do hands-on with the computer project, right? And with Randall's experience, others going down might, through their eyes, see something, maybe not this time around, to be done this time around, but in the future. Because we might not be experts in certain fields, but once we go, we can see what is happening, and then, we can see, wow, you know what, this is an opportunity. So again, the visits will help to educate us as well as to potential projects, which might rise to the top as well that we wouldn't have thought of before, So it's very dynamic, I think.
I think just to follow up on what Peter just said, when he and I were at the school in July, and a couple of the local Rotarians went with us, we were wandering around the school. Well, we're being guided around the school again, looking at the various areas where we know they have needs. And someone mentioned there are, I'm going to call them drainage pipes, but they're big. They've got manhole-sized covers on top of them, and I guess there's pits under there. A lot of those covers were rusted or broken or missing. And one of the notes we made was we could replace the manhole covers. And frankly, if you can use a wrench, and we give you a couple of bolts, you can bolt that manhole cover down. And you will be preventing some kid falling into that pit or that tank, whatever's underneath. And I think, to follow up what Peter said, as we visit the school, we will begin to see more and more. The facility was built in 1996, I think. So it's roughly 25, 30 years old. And in the Jamaican climate, it's very humid, it's very hot. It's beginning to show its age. I think there's lots of things we can do.
I wholeheartedly agree that the any kind of a visit, planning trip, in terms of identifying projects or even just safety concerns and figuring out how even where to get materials or how to successfully work together, or how inspections work on projects are all critical parts. And if you just sort of try and go down and start without doing that level of planning, I don't think it works as well. So I'm in wholehearted agreement with you. So
and I would encourage anyone who has questions to come with us in January and visit the school and see for yourself. And I pretty much guarantee you will fall in love with the place. It's a pretty amazing place, and it's amazing for a whole variety of ideas. But one of them is the dedication and care that the staff take with those students, those underserved, marginalized students. And we will find lots to do. I have no fears about that. So, Randy, I want to say thank you. I guess everyone can see my screen. We have a virtual certificate of appreciation, and I will send you a copy by email. But I want to thank you for the presentation. I had no idea of the scale of what you had been doing in Nicaragua. It's pretty amazing. I know you've been going there for a number of years. I want to reiterate again, I'm pleasantly surprised about your interest in the culture and getting to know the kids. It's something we've said almost from day one. And it struck me too how much we in our club still have to learn. I look at some of those projects, you just kind of nonchalantly say, yeah, we built 4 latrines. Well, sure, I know how to mix cement and I know how to lay cinder block, but everything else involved, we need some help there. And we actually have a project where we want to build in showers and toilet stalls, which is, I guess, kind of similar to that. So I'm just hats off to you and your club. I think you've done amazing work, and I want to thank you very much for telling us about it this morning. Thank you, Randy.
My pleasure. Fun to be here. So
okay. So we always do a little birthday celebration. And guess what? I've got a birthday coming up. I am not going to tell you how many years. I kind of give my age away. There's a second anniversary for me coming up in October, which is not on the screen. But on October 5th, that's the 49th anniversary of my arrival in the United States. So figure out for yourself how old I am.
Okay, David, what's the price, David? I have your book, so I can go back to it.
Yes, you do.
I do
yeah.
the math.
And Viv has a birthday on October 30th. When I first looked there, I thought, oh boy, we've got a couple of Libras in the club, but no, she's on the cusp. She's a Scorpio. So anyway, we're close. Anyway, congratulations to Viv on your birthday. I'm not going to ask you how old you are. So I want to move on. You know, not everyone may know, but another little project the club started last month. Everybody in the club agreed to donate $10 a month to buy hygiene supplies for the school. And not just sanitary supplies for women, but we're talking about underwear and lotions and soaps and shampoo, a whole variety. We were expecting to raise about $120. We ended up with $600 last month. So what the board decided is we're not going to spend all of that right now, because next month probably won't be as good as this month. But we have wired $150 to the president of the Kingston East and Port Royal Rotary Club, and she is going to buy those hygiene supplies locally and have them delivered to the school. We've also, through Peter, learned of another organization called the Lasco Chin Foundation, which is a, I guess, humanitarian organization in Jamaica that provides supplies to children. And we are going to open an account with them and begin to supply hygiene products through that foundation. And the reason for all of this is we thought we could buy from Amazon and have it delivered to Jamaica. Well, yes, we can. But for $150 worth of supplies, Amazon wanted $130 to ship it. It was not free next day delivery. So we're now working through our partners in the Kingston East Rotary Club. But I want to thank everyone for your generous donations during the month of September. And since you were so good in September, we've already put up another PayPal campaign for October. The QR code there will get you to it, or the URL to PayPal is there. I'm hoping everyone will continue to donate and we can continue to make deliveries to the students. Oh, by the way, the second reason why we didn't spend all the money is that we're hoping that when we go to Jamaica in January, we can accumulate enough money that we can buy some kind of recognition gifts for the teachers and staff at the school. That's something that the principal said would be greatly appreciated. So that's kind of what we're thinking too. Those are 19 of the 22 computers that we're going to provide to the school. They are sitting in Peter's home right now. And the good news is that we have pledges that will allow us to exceed our fundraising goal. Thanks to Marie. I don't know if you guys know, but Marie is the head of a group that is trying to raise $5 million for the Rotary Foundation from our district. They're sitting right now at about 4.4 million. So I asked her to take her fundraising skills and see what she could do for the club. And we have $7,000 plus been pledged to us. I say plus because there are 3 donors that we don't know how much they're going to give us, but the other donors gave us $7,000. And we're still working on how to ship this. It's turning out that shipping is a nightmare. But right now we're trying to find a shipping broker in Jamaica who knows how to get things cleared through customs, who knows how to work with the National Education Trust to avoid paying import duty, and who can make the final delivery to the school. We're working on it. So again, membership. Please invite your friends if you have any. Please invite your friends to attend the meeting. If you have someone you think might be interested, you can either talk to them directly or you can give them name, email, and mobile number to Marie, and one of us will contact them. We need 9 more active members to charter. We're sitting with 11 members. So just a reminder that next week we're going to have a discussion on the 2 learning courses in the Rotary Learning Center. Part of what we're trying to do is to introduce everyone who's new to Rotary to what Rotary is about. So there's 2 courses, one called Rotary Basics and one called Rotary Foundation Basics. Please read those before next week and we will have a discussion. Reminder again, World Polio Day is on October 24th for anyone who is in North Carolina or who wants to fly from Florida or Cameroon. We're having, it's a fundraiser for polio. We'll know a lot more about polio at the end of next month, but Rotary has been working since 1985 to eradicate the world of polio. So we're having a Pints for Polio event in Cary. Suggested donation of $20. Just come. There will be Rotarians from all over the district. Come and join them and have a fun night and donate $20 to the polio program. And if your $20 will be matched 2 for 1 by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So October 7th, we're having a discussion of basics. October the 14th, Maureen Cunningham is going to have the program doing what we've called an I Am. She's just going to talk about herself, and it's wide open, no limits, just whatever she cares to tell us about her. The whole point is for us to get to know each other better. October 21st, we have Camille Isaacs Morel, who is a Canadian and well-known in the dementia field, and she is going to talk to us about dementia and the tsunami is coming. And then October 28th, you're going to have to listen to me. I hope everyone shows up. When Marie and I were in India in 2020 for the Polio National Immunization Day, there was a professionally produced video made of our trip. And we're going to show that. It's called 2 Magic Drops, the 2 drops of the oral polio vaccine. And I'm also going to talk about Polio Plus and what the plus in polio means, because that program doesn't just try to eradicate polio, but I'm not going to tell you anything else until then. Any final questions, comments? Okay, let's finish with the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day and a better week.